Keyboard warriors, know-it-alls, people who have never tried, but are also very certain about how it'll never work out for you, them, or anyone. And that if you try, you're just being silly because they're wise and cautious and you're dumb and reckless. I've heard it myself, people in the comments getting annoyed with me because I'm being irresponsible by sending the wrong kind of positive, optimistic message to other people. Because I'm sending a, what if it does work out if you approach things the right way kind of message. They're getting annoyed at that. But I have a question to these eternal keyboard warrior pessimists. Does how we go about things not matter? Are we all the same? Most of them seem to think so. They really do. They feel we all slot perfectly into the catastrophic numbers and statistics. Their life math is woke math. It's all negative. That is, to them, if everyone can't be rich, then no one can be. Similarly, if everyone can't succeed, then no one can succeed or should succeed at all. I'll give you a practical example of how silly, overly pessimistic keyboard warriors can be to me. Let's think of an artist, right? To them, the passionate artist who's practiced and practiced, who believes in art in themselves and is obsessed with painting and drawing, is to them, somehow, get this, the same as the person who has absolutely no passion or interest in art, and both of their chances of success in the field of art are the same. This is what they believe. They feel that the person with drive, experience, and the will to get up again and again with enthusiasm and grit for the thing that they value will get the same results as the person who doesn't care and doesn't try. This is their logic. The person who wants to and is interested in climbing the mountain, to them, has the same chance as the person who doesn't give a shit. So why are these negative amateurs often the most vocal and certain of almost everything? They have an opinion on everything. Well, there's the hint. They aren't really certain, but they want to be. And negativity is a more certain path than optimism. It's less risky to be negative and overly cautious. Think about this. The people who have actually broken through and maybe done it or achieved something don't usually give you boilerplate negative advice like that. So you have to pay attention to who you listen to. Let me give you an analogy. Say you were passionately interested in the field of finance and money. Would you watch YouTube videos from people who hated their jobs in finance and money, were terrible at it too, and had little skill or interest in the field, and frankly, couldn't wait to be free of their terrible finance job, and maybe go elsewhere to some different profession that they'd actually like and be interested and driven by? Or would you listen to someone who actually loved finance and has always loved finance and money and has positive, constructive, and interesting advice and stories and observations about finance? I know which person I would rather listen to. You see, people who are good at what they do, not what they just negatively talk about, but actually positively do, will usually encourage you, or at the very least, it'll be constructive criticism giving you the best chance of succeeding, especially if they've succeeded themselves. They won't simply tell you to give up. They will try to help. Think about it. An accomplished artist won't shame you for trying to paint. A successful billionaire won't shame you for starting a business with $5. A pro athlete won't judge you for working out. A rock star won't shame you for picking up a guitar and trying. It's always these fuckers going nowhere who have something to say. Meanwhile, those who have succeeded will usually say, "Go for it. Here's what helped me. Let me give you some advice. Be careful of this, but good for you. They've got an enthusiasm. Sometimes it's like being with an unhappy partner online with all these negative people. You think, can't you be happy and positive for once? It's hard to stay around these kind of people and feel motivated about anything in life. Another problem is that people with low competence in a subject often overestimate their knowledge because they just don't know what they don't know. But it feels good to act like you do know. There's also a fear of being surpassed, left, and your ego being bruised. Usually these negative people, they've never attempted something, and seeing someone else even try threatens their self-image, and they feel like they're being left behind. So in effect, if you succeed, it proves that they could have done it too, which is uncomfortable for them. Think about it. If person after person does the thing that they said was impossible and others start doing the impossible too, they just look foolish. They also cope by discouraging others. This keeps them from having to confront their own inaction. And don't forget, inaction is very easy to keep doing forever. It's really easy, just justifying it forever. Keyboard warriors crave the feeling of being an expert without putting in the actual work themselves. I mean, people don't even read books anymore, and books used to be a form of recreation and relaxation in the past, so that should tell you how lazy these people are in a practical sense. Keyboard warriors regurgitate surface-level information they've heard elsewhere, believing it makes them sound knowledgeable and therefore they're right because they sound smart, yet they've never absorbed any subject in practice, in life itself. Or they'll tell you how life should be lived, but they've usually never tried it themselves and they haven't come back with any interesting stories or experience, since they don't actually do the thing they compensate by only talking about, and loudly. And the more they talk about it, the more they get this feeling like they've actually engaged with the subject, with the discipline. They feel like they've deeply engaged with the thing just by flapping their lips. You've probably come across these dreamers in another fashion. The guy who keeps talking about his business but never starts one, or the girl who has the greatest idea for a book but never writes. The internet has just made it easier to be a know-it-all behind an avatar. People who are uncomfortable with their life feel uneasy when they see others take risks to solve the problems that they would like being solved. They feel like others are leaving them somehow to move forward and try something new, and in a way, they're right. These people that have the courage to try things, they probably will leave them behind. You have to leave where you are now to progress to something better or different, and often the scared people can't follow or aren't interested in your direction. They mightn't have the skill, drive, or interest in where you're heading, nor should they really, but that's the feeling they have when they see people take risks and they feel an underlying possibility that their friends might now leave them because they might make it, and they'll move on away from them and they'll be left behind. So they'll discourage others from even trying to keep their friends around them. It's the crabs in a bucket analogy. They'll pull all the other crabs back that try to get out of the bucket, that try to leave. We notice this when a responsible person wants to go home because they've got work the next day, and the crab friend says, come on, stay a little while longer, have another drink. We see this in ghettos where the person who doesn't want to try does their best to discourage those who want to leave the ghetto and have a better life. Also, this is important to note. Criticism actually sounds smarter than optimism. Remember that. It really does. Objectively, criticism, warning people, makes you sound like you know something, you are warning them about something. It feels smarter. So people who confidently predict possible failure seem wise. And we're wired as human beings for self-protection. It's a primitive instinct. We listen to the cautious person and stay put in our caves so we don't get eaten by wild animals outside the cave. Many assume being skeptical and dismissive means that they have insight, when in reality, they have no real understanding of what it takes to succeed in something. And how could they? They always stop at what could go wrong. Many keyboard warriors have failed at something or never tried, and now project their fear onto others. They assume that if they couldn't do it or didn't have the courage to try, no one else can either, nor should. It's just projection. It's easier for them to believe that success is impossible than it is to admit the shameful reality that they didn't put in the effort and never will, and the clock is ticking. Online people feel emboldened to act as experts because they don't have to prove themselves to anyone. They can feel like the hero without actually doing what the hero does. Many just repeat what they hear others say and assume the popular opinion must be correct. So, who should we actually listen to? Well, if you want to get fit, listen to someone who's in shape. Want to start a business? Listen to someone who's rich. Experts love what they do or did or what they succeeded in, and usually encourage others to try because they can connect with the passion this other person, this starter, is feeling. They remember what it's like. Bottom line is, if someone's main skill in life is just telling others they'll fail, why listen to them? The biggest flex in life is trying, because it shows courage. We respect people who tried. We love stories of rags to riches. We like people who have done it hard, struggled, and then they got a win. The only way to guarantee failure is to never start, like these keyboard warriors. Years ago, I would read in the comments things like, "The only way to win is not to play." And I thought it was a witty mic drop, a clever line, a wise-sounding avoidance strategy that I could use for most situations in life. That is, if I don't risk, then I can never lose. But here's the thing. I want to win sometimes too, because winning feels good, but it requires trying. So go out and try. Feel good about achieving something and don't listen to these people.